coup, good evening or good night, bonsoir ou bonne nuit à chacune et à chacun.
We had the opportunity, as planned today, to have a strategic debate for a substantial debate on a number of extremely important international matters. You know that it is very much our wish to have a stronger voice on the international stage, and it presupposes that we can work closely together with the member states to try to arrive at strategic objectives and to make use of the means available to us in order to achieve our objectives. And that's why we had the opportunity, in this way that we had the opportunity to have a debate on the Eastern Mediterranean and our relations with Turkey. Over the last few weeks, we have seen a growing of tensions in the area, which has meant that a lot of preparation, a lot of political and diplomatic efforts were necessary with the member states, and the approach on which we agreed today is a precise, substantive approach which opens the way to building a double strategy. On the one hand, we say that we very much want to give political dialogue a chance to move towards greater predictability, stability in our mutual interests. On the other hand, we express our firmness on our principles, on our values, and the firm support to Greece and to Cyprus. This is the force of the message that we've been given. We're prepared to engage in a more positive agenda with Turkey, provided that Turkey also engages in a more positive direction with us and puts an end to these unilateral actions which go against international law. They violate international law. This is the demand of Cyprus, and we want to support them in the context of the United Nations and to support them in the context of all the various UN Security Council resolutions so that they can re-engage a dialogue and a political process in order to arrive at a solution.
Important point, we welcome and we would like to support the positive efforts in order to make possible some bilateral talks between Greece and Turkey, and we encourage the deepening of these talks. Second, Cyprus, I repeat, I said it in French, we support the speedy resumption of the UN-led Cyprus settlement negotiations, and we remain fully committed to a comprehensive settlement of the Cyprus problem within the UN framework, taking into consideration the different resolutions. Third, multilateral solutions. You know that I expressed this possible multilateral conference in order to develop a more positive channel of dialogue and communications. It would be the possibility, if we are able to start such a conference with the different actors involved in the region, it would be the occasion to tackle some very important challenges like the maritime delimitations, like the security questions, migration, economic development or energy. And then it's important for us to see in the next weeks how is it possible to make a more positive agenda possible with Turkey.
This idea of a positive agenda is based on the capacity to prepare a number of paths to improve cooperation with Turkey. And lastly, a very important point to show how seriously we took this process. With this twofold approach, we consider that at the latest by December, before the end of the year, we will come back, we'll revert within the European Council on to this subject, and we'll take into account the developments, which we hope will be positive developments, which will have taken place between now and December.
Now, another important question. You know that immediately after the elections, the presidential elections in Belarus in August, we took the decision to hold a special European Council in order to develop a united approach, to express a united position with regard to the situation on Belarus. We have decided today to implement the sanctions that we have decided. It's very important. This is a clear signal that we send. We are credible. It's very important to do what we had decided a few weeks ago. It means to be concrete that tomorrow via the written procedure, we will implement the sanctions on Belarus. And you know that what's on the table is a list with about 40 names. And we repeat that we would like to consider that the people of Belarus, they have the right to determine what's their own future. It's also our intention to continue to develop efforts in order to support the important values such as the freedom of the press, the freedom of speech, and the civil society.
Another point which was addressed was the question linked to the attempt to assassinate Alexei Navalny. We had a debriefing from the German Chancellor because Germany welcomed Mr. Navalny in a hospital on its territory in order to treat him, and we condemn the use of a chemical military weapon which goes against the principles of human rights and international law. And we call on Russia to ensure that inquiries, investigations are carried out, and that the next European Council will come back to this subject so as to assess the situation. This will already be mid-October, because that is when the next European Council will take place. And the last point I'd like to mention is the question of Nagorno-Karabakh. We had a debriefing from the High Representative. We had analyses communicated to us by a number of countries, in particular the French President, and I will have the opportunity to speak to Mr. Aliyev and Mr. Pashinel, the Prime Minister of Armenia. We call for the immediate cessation of hostilities. We mobilize together with all the actors concerned in order to encourage the resumption of political dialogue in the context of the Minsk group in the OSCE, because we think that this is the only option to prevent the rise of violence, of hostilities. It's essential to achieve stability and security. We're going to continue to be mobilized and be very dynamic, and we're going to try to, as far as possible, protect the people living in the region. As to China, we simply, without discussion, without debate, validated the conclusions prepared by our experts, by our teams, and we'll have the opportunity to come back to this question of China later. You know how we want to arrive at a common position which was validated by the conclusions, which sets a clear framework of how we see the future developing between China and the EU.
In July, we took an important decision with this agreement on the MFF and on the recovery fund. It's key to implement what we have decided in July. We are working very hard with the European Parliament, with the support of the Commission, in order to deliver. We know that there are some sensitive topics that we need to solve, and I am totally convinced it will be very important in the next days and in the next weeks to solve the last difficulties, to solve the last problems, because we consider it's key to implement as soon as possible what we have decided in July. This is a very strong message that we have sent in July, not only for the European citizens, but also for the rest of the world. It was a demonstration that when we are united, we are strong, and this response to this COVID-19 crisis is very essential, is vital. Et c'est la raison pour laquelle
that's the reason why we're going to continue to mobilize as a European Council and the Member States with the European Parliament and the Commission to try to find the solutions which will enable us to implement the agreement which was agreed on the European budget and the Recovery Fund in July.
Mr. President.
Good morning to all of you. I want to focus on the discussion we had in the main part of this evening concerning our relation with Turkey. On Turkey, we reaffirmed strongly the solidarity with Greece and with Cyprus. And it is very clear that no one can drive a wedge between us. The tensions in the Mediterranean have been very high because of Turkey's drilling activities in Cyprus' exclusive economic zone and exploratory activities in Greek waters. It is good that there is now a reliable dialogue between Turkey and Greece that has begun. However, we deplore that Ankara has not made similar constructive gestures towards Cyprus. We are convinced that differences must be resolved through peaceful dialogue and in accordance with international law. We want a positive and a constructive relationship with Turkey. And this would also be very much in Ankara's interest, but it will only work if the provocations and pressure stop. We therefore expect that Turkey from now on abstains from unilateral actions. In case of such renewed actions by Ankara, the EU will use all its instruments and options available. We have a toolbox that we can apply immediately. But this is not what we want. We want and would prefer to work on a new, long-term EU-Turkey relationship, a positive agenda that would include the modernization of our customs union, which will increase trade, and a stronger cooperation on migration on the basis of the 2016 EU-Turkey statement. We think that in face of the devastating impact of COVID, it is our strong belief that we would be well advised to cooperate and build a strong relationship. On Belarus, I'm very happy that there is now finally a way forward on sanctions. There will be no impunity for those who are responsible for the crackdown on demonstrators and opposition politicians. And on Armenia and Azerbaijan, I can only reiterate that we need an urgent de-escalation and that there can be no military solution for external interference. Thank you.
Really, either of the presidents, there's three factual questions. First of all, can the presidents confirm that Lukashenko remains off the list of sanctions for now? And could that change? Secondly, when exactly will the Belarus sanctions be implemented? Written procedure starts tomorrow, but when will it end? And thirdly, on Turkey, if there is not an immediate end to the drilling in Cypriot waters, how quickly would the EU take sanctions, impose sanctions on Turkey? Thank you.
Maybe the first question about the sanctions on Belarus. I confirm that we took the formal decision politically tonight, which is very important, and it means that tomorrow, via a written procedure, we will implement what we have politically decided. It means that it's immediate. Point one about Lukashenko. No, Lukashenko is not on the current list, but of course we'll follow the situation. We will follow the developments, and you know that we are in favor of an inclusive dialogue on Belarus. We encourage also a role for the OSCE because we think that the OSCE can play a very strong role in order to facilitate a more constructive, a more positive approach. And I repeat that we condemn all the intimidations against the opposition. We condemn the violence against the peaceful members of the opposition. About Turkey, Cyprus, we had today a very substantial debate, and it was very important because the fact that we had this debate is a demonstration that we take seriously into consideration what will happen in the future in this part of our neighborhood. The global region of the Eastern Mediterranean is a very important region. There are many challenges, many difficulties, many obstacles, many conflicts also on this region, with huge consequences for Europe in the short term, but probably also in the longer term. Security, energy, migration, economic development. And we share a common goal. It's obvious. We want more stability. We want more security. We want more predictability. And we have chosen, and we have agreed with this approach, a double-track approach. Firmness on the one hand and readiness to engage on the other hand. It means that, of course, we support Greece, we support Cyprus. You know that there is this the possible resume in the very short term, the possible resumption in the very short term of the UN talks regarding the settlement of this important and difficult question, and we will monitor closely the situation, weeks after weeks. We'll also stay in touch with Turkey. We had different contacts the last weeks with Turkey in order to explain with the details what's the European approach. And we expect, we hope that a more positive behavior will give the possibility to improve the relationships, but we are ready to use all the tools at our disposal in case of necessity.
Yes, indeed. Just a few remarks on that. The list of potential sanctions for Belarus has been technically worked on and put together already by the respective groups, political groups. The European Council takes the political decision that these sanctions are launched, and this political decision has been taken today. This was the important step. They can be implemented immediately, and it's more a matter now of technicalities than anything else. The political decision is taken to take now these, go forward with these sanctions in Belarus against those people who are responsible for the violence and the disregalities we have seen during the elections. What the Turkey is concerned, your question about Turkey, there are two toolboxes the European Union has, and we have been discussing them. The one for a situation we do not want, that would be a situation that Turkey takes again renewed unilateral actions and is breaching international law. We would have a toolbox, all necessary tools at our disposal. We can trigger them immediately. The other toolbox is the one we want to use, and that's the toolbox for a constructive agenda together with Turkey. Because there are many problems in the region, and we think it's better to have, in a mutual interest, a constructive agenda to build together. There's a lot to do, mainly in times of the COVID crisis, where there's a severe impact on the economies, and we want to move in that direction. It is now Turkey that has to prove that it wants to go the constructive road with us. And this is the offer tonight, but we are very clear that in the opposite case, we have all necessary tools.
Yeah, can you hear us?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, stick to one question, please.
Yes, one question to both of the presidents. You referred to two toolboxes, actually. But is the list of sanctions that were presented at the beginning still on the table as part of the all instruments available for Turkey? Thank you.
Yes, you want to answer now? Okay, so there are the two toolboxes. On one side, of course, the option of sanctions are there. On the other side, there is the constructive path, which we prefer, which we want to use. And this is, for example, modernizing the customs union. This is, for example, working on the EU-Turkey statement concerning migration, a common agenda that we do have. It is, for example, improving trade between the European Union and Turkey, and we think this is the way to go.
Thank you. Another question for David Carretta, Radio Radicale.
Oui, merci. David Carretta, Radio Radicale, Radio Italienne. Une question au président Michel à propos du Haut-Karabakh et de la Turquie. Vu que aujourd'hui le président français a laissé entendre que la Turquie joue un rôle, il y a des djihadistes syriens qui passent par son territoire pour aller combattre avec l'Azerbaïdjan. Est-ce que cela rentre dans vos demandes à la Turquie de jouer un rôle constructif aussi dans la région du Haut-Karabakh? Merci.
La réponse est oui. Nous demandons à tout le monde de jouer un rôle plus constructif, plus positif et favorable à l'apaisement à partir de la recrudescence des tensions, la reprise des hostilités de manière extrêmement violente ces dernières semaines, ces derniers jours, spécialement suscite une grande préoccupation, et c'est pour laquelle nous appelons à la cessation des hostilités. Nous appelons aussi à stopper des interférences extérieures qui ne contribuent pas à l'apaisement, mais au contraire qui contribuent à rendre la situation plus complexe. Il y a un processus politique qui est possible, il y a un canal qui est possible. Il y avait d'ailleurs dans ce cadre-là des réunions programmées au niveau des ministres des Affaires étrangères des pays concernés à Genève dans les tout prochains jours. Et nous appelons à ce que ce processus politique puisse avoir lieu, à ce que des réunions puissent avoir lieu pour donner un espace de dialogue et un espace de négociation politique. Nous sommes évidemment en contact avec les différents services d'information et de renseignement des États membres, mais également de pays en dehors de l'Union européenne, afin d'avoir une vision précise du type de soutien qui est apporté, y compris de soutien logistique aux militaires qui serait apporté.
I'll take a last question for Athanasios. There you go.
Thanks very much. Question to both of you, or to whoever can answer. In the two toolboxes, one toolbox, the one with the sanctions or the measures or whatever, also contains some kind of listings to individuals and enterprises, entities that are already now perpetrating the illegal drillings in the exclusive economic zone of Cyprus. What's going to happen to them? Are they also moved to December, or there is another parallel speedier procedure for the specific listings of persons and individuals? Thank you very much.
We have already answered to the question, I think. I can only repeat that there is this double approach. We hope it will be possible to develop a more positive agenda based on dialogue, based on respect for the international law, point one. If we would observe that it's not the path, we are ready to use all the tools at our disposal. And in any case, at least by the end of the year, we will have the occasion to discuss again the situation and to take the appropriate decisions. But like we said, we think and we hope that it will be possible to develop a more positive channel of communication, channel of dialogue. But we are very clear, we are very firm. We think that the rule of law, the international law, must be respected. The sovereignty and the sovereign rights of all our member states must be respected. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President and Madam President. See you tomorrow. This concludes our press conference. We start at 9:30. Thanks again.